Welcome to Money Talks with me, Barbara Goldsmith. Each week I'm going to talk about all kinds of aspects of money and finances. I'm going to look at what your money is doing for you and how you can make it really work for you. There are huge changes happening in the world right now, and I'm going to show you what those changes mean to you on a personal level. I can sit here and talk about world currencies and put you to sleep. Or I can show you how world currencies are going to affect your food prices. These things are changing day by day, minute by minute. And here on Money Talks, I'm going to keep you updated. Today, we're going to be talking about contracts and agreements. For example, a rental agreement, a mortgage agreement, or a loan from a family member or friend, or a credit card agreement, and what you should be looking for to protect yourself and your assets. I'll be talking about the kinds of agreements that affect most of us, whether we have limited funds or a great deal of money, whether we are making these contracts and agreements with people we love and trust, or whether we're making them with strangers. There are some simple rules of thumb that we should all be looking at as they apply to most of us. Historically, 100 years ago or so, most countries didn't recognise women's rights to own property. They couldn't get a mortgage or credit without their husband's permission. They themselves were treated as chattels. If they wanted to know about money, they were told not to worry their pretty little heads. So it became the man's job to worry about money, and the woman's job to take care of his personal needs and to be the heart of the house. He worked, he provided for their needs. She took care of the children, the household chores, and her husband's needs. Consequently, when a husband died or divorced her, or just disappeared, she was left not knowing how to balance a checkbook, not knowing what her mortgage rates were, or how responsible she was for paying that mortgage down. She had no knowledge of insurance, and was often left without insurance coverage for herself and her family. As far as her car was concerned, she knew how to put the key in the ignition and get to the nearest service station, and that was about the extent of her knowledge. Nowadays, women are in top positions in corporations, but many of them still have their husbands making the major decisions on things like insurance, mortgage rates, investments, medical coverage, and pension plans. Historically, when a woman gets into a relationship, she's always given her husband dominion over her assets. She could come into a marriage with a house completely in her name. And once she gets married and he wants to be put on the title to it, she doesn't question it. Also, historically, a woman takes a softer view. I love him. Everything we have is ours. We share and share alike. I should be putting the house in both of our names. Wrong, wrong, wrong. If he wants to be put on that title, or you want to put him on that title, get 3 evaluations of the house and let him give you his share of the money for that house. After all, if you're going into a business partnership and someone wants to buy into your business, you'd have your business valued at current prices, and that partner would have to buy in cash at current value. A house is no different. Because remember, once he's on that title, he can do anything he likes with that house. He can take out loans against it, and he can walk out on you. Or he can mortgage it to the hilt and die, leaving you with debt. Now, the same can be true of a man who owns property. But men tend to cover themselves with prenuptial agreements. Women historically have not been that smart. They have got smarter in recent years, but because their emotions are engaged so quickly and so deeply, they often have to be reminded to protect their assets. And the same thing holds true if you own your own house and your spouse wants you to sell it so you can move to a larger place. Once again, that partner should be compensating you with the value of his or her share of the house before you sell it. Because if the partnership falls apart, Either way, you'd lose out, because when it comes to a division of assets, you only own half of the new house and none of that house that you had in your own name before the partnership. For example, I knew someone who had her own home that she'd bought with her own money and had been living there for a number of years, and that house was almost paid off. Then she got married. The new husband moved in, and a few months later he decided he didn't want to live in that house. He wanted them to sell it and to move to another house. After their divorce, 15 years later, all she was able to get was half of the new house and nothing of the house that she had originally. When you are dealing with monies, even if you are in a deep relationship with a family member, a friendship, and you trust the other person deeply, and you may have had a lot of experience over the years, and you think to yourself that you don't need a written agreement, think again. You never can tell when the other person is going to back off and leave you with the debts and responsibilities, or if they're going to sell off their half of the partnership, leaving you unprotected. You may trust this person wholeheartedly and may never have had cause to doubt them, but circumstances can and often do change. For example, I knew someone who'd been having marital problems, and all his money was tied up with his wife in their house. He was advised by a counsellor to start saving money in a different bank account from where he and his wife had their monies, a bank that she knew nothing about. And on New Year's Day, after everyone had left after a party, she threw him out of the house and would not allow him to come back. Luckily, he'd put some money aside in a separate bank account. Had he not done this, he would not have had the money for a month's deposit on a lease, and he would have been out in the street. Stay tuned. When we come back, we'll talk about contracts on a professional level.